Like many Central American countries in the 1820s, Costa Rica did not become completely independent after breaking off from Spain. Even though September 15, 1821 is widely recognized as their date of independence, the country was still under the rule of the Mexican Empire all the way until July 1st of 1823. After this, Costa Rica, along with several Central American countries such as Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Guatemala, united together and became part of the Federal Republic of Central America. Costa Rica had only small relevance in the Federation, and while it was shaken by conflicts and civil war, the fate of the Republic was determined in Guatemala and El Salvador. In 1838, the Federation was disestablished and the Costa Rica was finally independent. The only figure of authority during this time was Costa Rica's first head of state, Juan Mora Fernandez, who ruled from 1824 to 1833. Mora attended to building up the nation, as he organized new towns, built roads, published a newspaper, and coined a currency. His wife was also responsible for designing a new flag for Costa Rica. To understand Costa Rica's political state during the independence era after breaking away from Spain, we have to take a look at how many presidents took office in a certain period of time. From 1825 to 1859, we see 16 different presidents go through office. As most of these were short terms, you can see the signs of political unrest in Costa Rica. A president can be assassinated or have a coup led against them at any moment that a militia group had the guns and the drive. This is important for the rest of the region and the era because anyone in office could be overthrown. It demonstrates how vulnerable these governments were at this time and how easily the structure of rule could be swayed.
When coffee was discovered in Costa Rica, it went from the poorest country in the region to one of the wealthiest. During the birth of the coffee business, Costa Rica did not have the domestic capacity to process their own beans. Therefore, they had to export the raw product to South America. By 1840, the country was able to establish its own processing plants, which enabled it to export beans directly to Europe. By the end of the century, coffee accounted for 90% of all Costa Rican exports and 80% of all foreign earnings. Coffee grew quite differently in Costa Rica compared to the rest of Central America. In the rest of the region, people who became known as coffee barons controlled all business. This group of people became the elite in their respective countries and dominated the exports almost exclusively. Costa Rica was different, however. In Costa Rica, the farm industry was run by many small-scale farmers, meaning that there was not one single coffee baron who had a monopoly over trade. This allowed the general population of Costa Rica to experience prosperity for some time. Unbeknownst to Costa Ricans, the coffee boom would pave the way for a new agricultural powerhouse in the country, bananas. The necessity for export of coffee created the need for a railway, which was a daunting task considering the amount of dense rainforests and infested swamps. This incited the Costa Rican government to contact American railway tycoon Minor Keith. At first, the project was a disaster. Malaria killed off thousands of workers, and Costa Rican workers were replaced with Chinese laborers. Budgets skyrocketed, and the only way the government was able to keep Minor Keith was to incite him with 800,000 acres of land and a 99-year lease on the railroad operations. By the late 1800s, the railroad was finished and losing money. In order to try and regain a portion of his lost funds, Minor Keith began exporting bananas to New Orleans. This small side venture ended up exploding, and banana farms began sprouting all over the railroad. Turning the corner into the 20th century, bananas surpassed coffee as Costa Rica's #1 export and became the world's leading banana exporter.